Google makes a lot of stuff that we use on a daily basis. Google Maps saves millions of people's time every day. Google Search makes our jobs easier. And there are countless Android phones wandering about out there. But not everything they touch turns to gold, and they're well known for their failed ventures. And I want to take you on a trip down memory lane with Google Stadia. Launched back in 2019, Stadia was Google's attempt to enter the cloud gaming space, to compete against competitors such as Nvidia's GeForce Now, OnLive and PlayStation Now, and an attempt to elevate the cloud gaming space into a household product that's used on a daily basis by gamers around the world. But why did it fail? Let's start at the beginning. Stadia went into beta back in 2018, where playtesters were able to sample Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and feedback was pretty lukewarm. The service worked, but there was serious doubt as to who this was really for, and concerns about subpar picture quality. Regardless though, Google ploughed ahead like a roided up bodybuilder and launched the service in 2019 alongside its own controller, bundled with Chromecasts and applications for major Android devices. Part of Google's strategy here was not only to acquire game studios to make games for Stadia, but to entice mainstream developers and publishers to develop their games for the platform, and by the end of its first month of service, had launched 22 games on the platform, including the popular Red Dead Redemption 2 and Final Fantasy 15, and by the end of services hosted a total of 278 games, some provided alongside their Stadia Pro subscription service, but most requiring a one-time purchase. Early reviews of the service from major outlets such as Wired and Digital Foundry criticised the picture quality, and while most reviews were generally complimentary of the technical achievement on display here, the overall reception was lukewarm at best, pretty much a resounding meh from the industry. And here's where the cracks started to show for the fledgling streaming service. In a world with Xbox Game Pass, established streaming services like GeForce Now, and where fibre optic broadband hadn't been rolled out globally, especially in European markets, questions were starting to come about as to just who this is for and why they should use it. There wasn't necessarily a large enough market for this kind of product to necessitate its existence, and while other services were available, they didn't ask you to buy the game again. GeForce Now, for example, lets you buy the game anywhere, then just stream it through them, meaning players could take advantage of good deals online to get their games at a more reasonable price, instead of being locked into one storefront. Conversely, Stadia's pricing was not often discounted, and games were sold mostly for RRP, or on occasions above that, with DLC pricing about as competitive as a paraplegic racing against Usain Bolt. Google needed a big hit, something to promote the features of the platform and drive players to it, and in came Cyberpunk 2077, launching on all major platforms, including Stadia, in December 2020. Stadia had a huge chance to benefit from this, as while the game was riddled with performance issues on most platforms, Stadia users, including myself, reported a much smoother and better performing experience. I played through the whole of the game via Stadia after hearing that performance was better, and genuinely it was. While most of the game's bugs existed, performance was rock solid for the most part. They even bundled this with a hardware package including a Chromecast and a controller. However, they failed to market the benefits of Stadia with this game, and ultimately the sales were disappointing on the platform. This led to the first death knell for Stadia in February 2021, where Google announced it was ceasing internal development and shutting down its games development team, instead shifting focus to incentivizing publishers to bring their content to Stadia. Ultimately, it didn't work out. Developers reported difficulties with the process of bringing their games to the platform, and really, if it's more difficult than it needs to be and the sales aren't returning already, why would they do it? Over the next 18 months, things moved along slowly on Stadia. More games were coming to the service, but it was mostly indie titles and re-releases of older titles launching at higher prices than you could buy them elsewhere. Meanwhile, Google's community teams expected the users to become psychic as they went pretty much dark, giving less updates to the community about new features and failing to promote the service well to the average user. More and more things became frustrating to players over this period. The lack of a basic search feature in the storefront made it harder than it needed to be to find new content. Stadia Pro was giving more and more mediocre titles to users, failing to incentivize people to keep their subscriptions outside of having access to previously higher quality games that they used to provide. and the lack of new features coming to the platform was failing to keep the player base engaged, while fragmentation in Google's hardware meant that devices such as Chromecast with Google TV, while more than capable of running Stadia, required extra steps and technical know-how to get it on there. In September 22, Google formally announced the end of the Stadia service. The storefront was pretty much immediately disabled, and while gamers had access to the library for the next 3 months or so, there wasn't really much of a reason to engage with it, and by the end of January, Stadia was shut down and confined to the Google graveyard. Now, Google really surprised me with how they handled this. While they couldn't refund hardware for everyone, they did refund automatically all software sales from the platform, refunding thousands to some users who invested heavily in the growth of the service. That was a class act and sets a good precedent for any future services that may fall. Rest in peace, Google Stadia. I'm not going to say you had a good run. Honestly, it was mediocre at best. You had potential, but unfortunately no one really knew what to do with you, and Daddy Google expected you to perform while kicking you in the balls every 10 minutes. Maybe someone will try again in a few years. Let's wait and see. Hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you in the next one.